Hello and welcome to the Be Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast. Today I have from New York City, Rachel Rozen. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Hey, thank you so much, B. Glad to be here today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And one of my favorite cities in the world, I always do say that. And you're in the freezing cold, and I'm in the beautiful summer that it is here in Melbourne. So, although I do love the snow, but you said it's not snowing at the moment, so there you go. But Rachel, I'm really interested and curious to chat with you today because I am all about connections, and I think that goes a long way when you can know how to network, know how to communicate, and just be able to go to different places and just be able to step into the unknown, right? And you're the founder of Connection Catalyst, which you said you started 3 years ago. I think you mentioned in May, 3 years ago. And it's where you turned icky, those icky networking situations into sticky, lasting relationships through group coaching, courses, and speaking. You're a former chief customer officer who famously reshaped your career by intentionally connecting with 300 people in a year. And it's a playbook you now teach to executives, operators, and teams. And beyond the coaching and the courses and speaking, you also host curated executive dinners in New York City to help senior leaders build meaningful social capital without a small top fluff. When you looked into the pod and I asked you what's one unique insight or leadership experience when it comes to life leadership and or business, you said, I've learned that networking isn't about being more memorable. It's about being meaningful, not agreeing more. Most people try to show up polished, impressive, or useful. Real leverage comes when you show up curious, prepared, and human. I'll leave the rest of the answer to the question because I think we can bring that in later. But tell us a little bit about what made you start the business, and also what made you intentionally connect with 300 people in a year? That's it's huge.
I know it's kind of a crazy number. I didn't intend to set out to meet 300 people, but when I looked back at it, I was like, wow, I actually met 300 people in a year. I was trying to figure out what was next for me. I was a senior leader and I got all the way to the top. And sometimes when you get to the top of that mountain, you're like, what do I do? I've reached the pinnacle and what's next? And for me, it wasn't necessarily continuing in senior leadership at that time. I really needed a break and I took what I called a learning sabbatical. And I took a bunch of classes, I took some time off, did some traveling, tried to figure out what was next for me. And it all kind of came to culmination because this is what I've been doing, even though I really didn't like networking. I didn't feel good about it. It was really icky for me. But I had been in hospitality for the majority of my career. And then I went into customer success, customer experience on the technology side for restaurants. And everything that I've always done has been about building relationships and having conversations and curating that throughout my career. But I wasn't putting it yet forth in another area, which was networking. How do you build those relationships? What does that look like? And I didn't spend time doing that when I was working. I call myself a recovering workaholic because I was just heads down, focusing on whatever job I had, whatever company I was working for, but I wasn't focusing on me. And you need those relationships to grow because you're not always going to have that job or that title or that company. You are an individual, but I never really focused on that.
Mm.
And that's what really intentionally led me to meet 300 people because I knew there are other things out there. And I was in the same similar industry. I only worked for a few companies. I really only knew the few clients that I had and the companies that I worked at, my colleagues, but I didn't want to stay in hospitality and I needed to expand. And that's how I ended up meeting 300 people because I learned there were so many other things out there. And I'm a member of Chief, which is for executive women. And I was going to the career transition group every week and I was getting different consulting jobs. And someone said to me, Rachel, can you do a webinar on networking? Because, a lot of us don't know how to do it. This is all senior executive women. And that was actually January of 23, so 3 years ago. And almost 200 people showed up for that webinar, which was a lot
Wow.
at the because it was something that people really needed and they just don't know how to do it. And still today, a lot of people just tell others, oh, just go network, but nobody really shows you how to do it.
Yes, so true.
That's what I really focus on is helping the individual get better at doing it. So it becomes a habit, it becomes natural, it becomes part of your day to day. And we're doing it all the time. It doesn't always have to be, I have to go to a networking event or I have to go to a conference. Those are all things, vehicles to possibly get you there. But you could have a conversation with someone in a coffee shop. Like I got a client from going to playing mahjong. And we just happened to start talking and found out what I did. And they were starting a new business and really wanted to get better at networking because this is something different than what they had been doing. So you just never know where you're going to meet people. You just have to put yourself out there.
Yeah, that is such a cool story. I love it. I love it. And I relate a lot to it because did you call it a learned sabbatical that you took
Yeah.
one? Yeah, it's really cool because I had someone actually criticize me a while ago saying when I because it's I'm into medical, I've got a life break. It's just like you should never put in this I've got a life break. I'm like, what she
Mm.
talking about? She's like, but I'm like, I'm proud I had the career break because similar to you, I hit my pinnacle and then I need time out. I love the learning sabbatical, so I might have to borrow that and change it from a
Yeah.
life break because it was a full year. Like it was like that. You know, you go on this pilgrimage, you're traveling, you're researching and everything. And there were so many things you tapped into there that I really resonated with in terms of just the whole like you come from an industry you've been in for your whole career, if you like. And you're
Yeah.
so used to networking in it, but you're like, I have to gain this network. And people just go, oh, just tap into your old network. I'm sure you had a lot of this as well. Just tap into your old work network. That can help you do it. But it's like, but that's my old network. They're not going to be able to take me forward into my new career or wherever I want to go. I mean, arguably some might, but you need to be able to step into a new network. And that was a real, I always thought I was a networker and a connector. But then you're stepping out of the comfort zone into a different, and you're like, I don't even know who I am. I don't know how, like, you're going into these situations, and like you say, they're icky. And so,
They are.
yeah, like for you to put yourself out there like that must have been really, like, you know, took a lot of courage, I guess. And in terms of where did you even know to start? Like, when you start talking to, like, realize you've got 300 people, like, that's the big one. I think, like, a big sticking point for me was I don't even know where to start in terms of networking with new people. And I'm sure you get that now with, like, clients that you meet. They're like, I don't know where to start. How did you know where to start, or did you just start?
Yeah, I always recommend to people to start with your warm network. So that's somebody that you have an affinity to in some way. You don't have to have necessarily a direct connection to them, but they may be someone that went to the same school as you. You went to the same university, or someone from your hometown, or a family member, or a personal friend, somebody that has some sort of association, maybe someone that you know from like the gym that you work out at or yoga studio, whatever it may be, because they know you as an individual. So they are going to be able to speak about you in a positive way or want to recommend you because you have some sort of a link. Even if it's someone you went to the same university, there's still a link there. People still have an association with that and they want to recommend other people that went to
Mm,
that same
mm,
school. And when you start there, it makes it a little bit easier to continue to grow. And a lot of people are in different communities, and that's really how I started, being a member of Chief, and then I'm also a member of Pavilion, which is for go-to-market leaders, primarily in B2B SaaS, but they are in different roles, and I was a member of both of those communities, and that's how I really started to dig in a little bit deeper. But I thought maybe I want to be a chief of staff, see leadership from a different vantage point. And I reached out to 5 chiefs of staff between Pavilion and Chief that I didn't know them. I just knew them from the community, like that they were in that community. And from there, they actually introduced me to other chiefs of staff and people. I talked to presidents and CEOs who had chiefs of staff, but everything was from a connection. Someone made an introduction to me or for me based upon the conversation that we had and what I was looking for and what my interests were. And so I went from 5 to 40 and then 40 to 300 because I just kept getting more and more people that I was either being introduced to or someone was saying, oh, you need to talk to Rachel, because I was showing up to different places, different communities, different events, and that allowed for me to be known. And part of this was I wasn't really known. People didn't know who I was. And once they knew who I was, then I started to have more conversations coming my way. And it all starts with a conversation because you just never know what's going to grow from there. It doesn't need
No.
necessarily mean it's going to be something immediate, but it's going to give you insight and interest to keep learning and finding more. And once you start to know who you are and what you want, people are more likely to help you. Where a lot of people tend to fail is that they just say, "Oh, I want a job," but they're not specific on what that is or where they want to work. And just for those that are in career transition, and then nobody can point them in another direction. They have no one to introduce them to because like, "Oh, I could do anything." Well, yeah, anybody can do anything, but the more specific you are, the more likely someone is to help introduce you. And that's really, for me, I just kept getting more and more specific of who I wanted to meet. And people, like, oh yeah, I'm going to introduce you to this person or that person. And it just kept growing from there.
And so you do the 300 interviews, right? And then at what point did you go, all right, now I really like you've taken a learning sabbatical. Let's call it what you're calling it. And I love the term. And so then what made you go, oh, actually, I'm going to start a company called the Connection Catalyst. And now, when did you realize? Was it like as you were getting doing more and more of these meetings with people, connections? I shouldn't call them interviews, but conversations. Were you like then? What? Yeah. What point did you go? Oh, actually, I think this is my newfound, passion, career, everything.
Yeah, so it actually was from another coach around March of that year. I still was really struggling. I didn't know what I wanted to do next. I had thought that I wanted, like I said, to be a chief of staff.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I'm going to go back to tech, work for a CEO in a Series B or C company. Well, that was when there was a lot of tech layoffs happening again, and people were only hiring like specific unicorns, even though I had been in the C-suite before. I don't have an MBA and I don't have FP&A experience, and those are two things that I just not going to magically pull out of a hat, right? Um, and so I wasn't getting opportunities, weren't coming to fruition for me there. And so I continued to just talk about networking. And another coach said to me, Rachel, you're really good at this. Maybe you should turn it into a business. And I said, I have no idea how to do this, but I'm going to figure it out. And I've been figuring it out ever since and continuing to. I know that there's a lot of people out there that just haven't found me yet, that know that this is what they need. And if they just had the opportunity to work with someone, just give them that little bit of boost. Because when clients do work with me, they're often on the fence, like, oh, I'm not sure if I need this, but I want it. And then they finish working with me like, oh my God, I can do this now. Like I don't have the fear anymore. Like I'm building relationships in a way that it never happened. And to your point earlier about networking in your past, I'm a huge proponent of networking for your future self. Doesn't mean that your connections in your past aren't going to be necessary. You're not going to tap them. But if we don't start looking for what we want for our future, we're going to be stuck in the past. And that's one of the things that I really focus on with my clients is how do you get yourself talking to people that are going to benefit you and them for your future, not just for your past.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like I actually have never heard of this. Like so like in terms of like it's such a neat, like a unique niche. Like you're creating your own niche and it's awesome because I hadn't heard of anyone who had a company like the Connection Catalyst, where you basically do your group coaching, your courses, and your speaking, and introducing people on how to have those sticky, lasting conversations. And I think you're absolutely right. Like I know that it was a real tension point for me when I had such a big network, and then to go from the business industry I was in. And I'm struggling with this. I'm like, yeah, but they know me for who I was. I'm not going to be that person in 6 months now, let alone and so it's more now I'm connecting back with them now that I know where I'm headed and who I am now. That's what I was previously because they were only ever knew me as them. at. So I think that's a really interesting point that you call out. What do you think is the biggest when you meet with different people that are interested in working with you, what's generally their biggest challenge? Like, you're like, and I guess there's that question. And the second question is, loneliness is quite a big deal in the world these days. And, connecting and, every time I speak to clients and suggest, excuse me, they have some sort of, event or something like, even like your dinners and things that you're talking about. They're always like, oh, no one wants to go out anymore. No one wants to do anything. But I'm like, yeah, but we've got to get people out. I feel like there's a real opportunity there to get people out of their houses. And COVID was 5 years ago now. Do you know what I mean? So I guess, yeah, there's two questions there. One being, what are people coming to? What are their biggest challenges? And what are you seeing from getting people out to network and connect?
Yeah, so I'll start with the challenges piece. It really depends upon the individual. And a lot of people think, oh, I am extroverted. I don't need this. But it doesn't matter if you're introverted or extroverted. I work with both, whether you're introverted, extroverted, ambivert. It's really about not knowing how to have good conversations is number one. Like, what do I talk about? I don't know what to say when I talk to someone. And that's one of the main things that I focus on. But another big thing is who. It's the who, the how, and the what basically. And the how is a big piece. I don't know how to do it. And it's funny because as kids, I don't know if you have kids, but most kids they go to a playground and um, can meet a friend in the park in a moment. Like they very easy for
Yeah.
them. They make a new friend everywhere they go. As an adult, we start to build on this anxiety. Oh, no one wants to talk to me. I don't belong. I don't
Mm,
feel right in this situation. There's an acronym that I talk about that I call FOBLO. So instead of FOMO, FOBLO is the fear of being left out. And that kind of translates into your second question. I truly believe, and I feel this way too, that having a fear of being left out, meaning where am I supposed to, where do I belong?
mm.
Where are the places that I should be or that people are going to accept me for who I am? That is really challenging people in this idea of the loneliness epidemic because they're not finding the right places to be with the right people that they feel accepted. And I truly believe that is one of the things that's causing the loneliness epidemic is that fear of belonging. And people just want to belong, but they just don't know where to find those places. That's one of the reasons why I started the dinners that I do is because I want a place for people to come and just have great conversation. Doesn't have to be a specific topic. Like the topic comes up based upon the conversations that we're having versus it being forced and being comfortable in an environment. And there are a lot of places that to meet people, it depends upon your interest and also your level of how much you want to exert energy, I guess is the best way to
Yeah.
put that.
Yeah.
Does it need to be a super high energy event all the time? No, there are a lot of smaller or low energy events that you can go to as well. There's a company, it's in the US, I don't think it's gone abroad yet, called Reading Rhythms as an example. And it's just a book meetup. You're just going
Yeah, I
to
like
a
that.
random place and read books to like you read your own book, somebody else reads a book, and like it's a very low energy thing to do, but they do it at different bars and parks and all over the place. You just show up and read a book. And then I think you gather and talk about the book afterwards. That's just like an example of something that doesn't have to be really high energy. So it really depends upon the individual, but it's also knowing when you get there, other people probably don't know anyone either. Like it
Mm,
doesn't mean you're not alone. Like other people are going there without knowing someone. And yes, it's nice to have a buddy, but it's also okay to show up and not know anyone as well. It's as simple as just saying, hey, what brought you here today? Or my name's Rachel, great to meet you. What's the worst that's going to happen? Like, they're going to ghost you. They're not going to talk to you. Like, you're no worse off than you were like 2 seconds before that.
Yeah. You know what just came up for me? Like just this really this insight listening to you, right? Was, like you think about hustle, right? Like you said, you're a recovering workaholic, as am I. So, we're friends here.
Yeah.
But the other part of this is, a lot of the time I think people go to networking or have been to networking events, and I've done it at times myself, where you're on a mission. You're just on the mission. You're going in there because you're thinking, I need something, I want something, and then you walk away and you're like, oh, nothing happened, sort of thing. And I think that it can come across that way. And I think that more and more again, like, going to these situations or networking events, if you like, or just networking in general, with sometimes just no expectation. Like I think that when you go in with no expectation and you go in, more present, if you like, and less hustle, I think that's when the beauty of the conversations, and that's like, that's when the meaning and the mattering comes in, etc. Do you do you coach your clients on that as well? Like, don't go in all guns a blazing, like, like, because I think that again, it's been ingrained in us to just, if you don't ask, you don't get, like all those sorts of conversations. And
Yeah.
there's a time and a place for that. But like, what do you coach them on? Like, if, like, let's play for a second with me. Like, this is my first time that I've come out of my old career, I've come out of my old network, and I've come to you, and I'm looking for you to coach me. And I'm like, I want to network. I want to network with new people. Like how do you coach them? What do you say? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
what's your advice?
So one of the first things that I work with people on is their mindset when it comes to networking. And I actually learned this acronym from a dating coach, but it resonates well because everything is relationship driven, whether it's a romantic relationship or a professional relationship. And her acronym is NATO, NATO, not the Global Alliance, but NATO stands for not attached to outcome.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll give it to you in the dating sense first, and then I'll tell you about it in the context of networking. So when you go on a date with somebody, you have a first date. What is the goal after that first date?
I wouldn't have a clue. I need some dating coaching.
Okay,
This is
so
making me laugh.
the goal is not to get married, right? Like you're not going to go
Yeah,
on date one like,
totally.
oh my God, I'm going to marry this person, right? The goal is, can I get a second date? Great,
Yeah,
I got a second date. Date two, is there going to be a date three? So on and so on, right? We're not saying we're going into date one and I'm going to get married to this person. Yes, maybe someone has like amazing spark story, who knows? But the majority of people, that's not the case. So when we think about it from a networking contest, very similar to what you were just talking about, we don't want to be attached to the outcome. We go in, our goal is to not automatically think someone's going to give us business or that somebody is
yeah,
going to um, get us a job, whatever it might be. It's, oh, I met a really cool person here, or I want to meet two or three people that I can have a conversation with post this event. And, or I can click with them in some way that I can continue that on. And you know what? The best part about networking is versus a date. I mean, you can always walk off in a date, but in a networking event, you hate it, you leave. Like nobody's holding you
yeah,
there. You're
totally.
not
Yeah,
handcuffed, right? You're not like stuck there. You go. Is this a vibe that you want to be in? Is this a place where you want to participate? Fantastic. But you also want to set yourself up for success. So one big thing is, what time do you normally arrive to a networking event?
I don't. I'm a bit naughty. I don't always arrive. I probably just arrive like right on time of the event. Like I never arrive early. I'm not an early person like that.
So what happens when you arrive on time or maybe a few minutes late? How many people are in the room?
It's generally pretty full, but then I always end up talking to people that are coming in later after me because it's just like, oh, they're, walking in, and yeah, so kind of starts conversation.
Oftentimes it's full, which means that you have to find someone to talk to.
Yeah,
But if you show up early, a couple things happen. One, who's generally the first person in the room?
person hosting the event,
Exactly. Who does the host know?
everyone there.
Everyone. So is there someone that you want to meet? Do they know you yet? Can they make introductions for you so that it makes it easier on you to find the right people to talk to?
Yeah.
That's number one. And then number two is if you're the first person in the room, where does the next person have to go to talk to someone? They come to you.
Yeah, well, there you go. I'm gonna rock up early to events going forward. Yeah, I love
You'll
that.
be surprised how easy it starts to become when you show up just a few minutes early and people start talking to you. Then you can, it kind of is like that. I don't want to use the word lubricant, but it's the best word I can come up with. But it's that lubricant to just kind of like get you going to like, oh, now I'm in the rhythm. Now people are talking to me. I can start, moving around and talking to other people. But then you start to meet other people within that context. You can introduce them to others.
Yeah.
They introduce you to somebody else because you've arrived first. Versus if you're one of the last people to arrive, you're always on the outside looking in versus being on the inside trying to
Looking
bring
in.
others
Yeah, that's cool.
looking out.
Okay, you've
Yeah.
got me. Okay, it's going to be my new 2026 vibe. It's going to
Yeah. Try
be
it out. Let me know how it
being
goes.
there early. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm conscious of your time and I want to switch it up. I've got a couple more questions for you and I want to read out the last bit of your answer to my question from booking into the pod. What's it like for you going from always being an employee by the sounds of things to starting your own business? Like you said you weren't sure how to do it, but you'll work it out. You're 3 years in. What do you,
Yeah. I mean,
what,
I
yeah.
still say that I'm figuring it out every day, in all honesty. Like, I actually spent last week trying to figure out how I can work more on the business versus in the business because I was
Yeah.
very much stuck in the business. And so I put a plan together for my calendar of like, this is what I'm going to do. This is what my Monday through Friday is going to look like. So I have time to be in the business, but also making sure I have time on the business and seeing where I can make that change for myself. Because I did hire a VA. I had a VA for most of last year. They just didn't really work out. And I think part of it was they weren't the right fit, but also were they working on the right things that were going to strategically
Maybe.
get me where I need, move the needle where I need to go. And I don't know that that was the right thing. And I think one of the hard things in business is that you're always making decisions that you don't know if it's right or wrong and you just have to live with that. I know that what I'm doing is the right thing to be doing. I know this could be really successful. I am just trying to take every day as it is and say, okay, I have the support here to make this happen. I just need to keep moving forward. I need to continue to be more visible. Like that's my word for 2026. How can I be more visible? How can people know that I exist? Like you said, you didn't even know that, that I existed. So I'm trying to find ways for that visibility of people to know, like, hey, this is something that you might struggle with. Hire me as your coach. Let's work on this and make it better for you because there's no time to start like the present.
Yeah. And it's also very new. It's new paradigm, it's new world, right, for me. Like
Yeah.
it feels very modern, progressive what you're doing and like, the shaping of whether you've been in a previous career or you're transitioning or you're moving into a new one, like or you're in the existing, like networking at the end of the day is going nowhere. Like it's going
Right.
nowhere, but but you're reshaping it. You're reshaping what it looks like today
Exactly.
and breaking down that loneliness epidemic as well and almost getting people out and about and connecting again and it's so needed and so required. Last question. How do you keep your energy levels up? Like networking, like you say, like, a lot of people like it's energy, right? You when you go, like I know I'm extroverted, excuse me, I've got an itchy eye. But when but then I also need to come back and chill and, like this is what you do for a living, right? Like how do you make sure that you keep your energy levels?
That's one of the things that I actually coach people on is their energy level because that's really what a lot of it is
Yeah.
about. And the energy is really, I base it on your five senses. And it's going to be different for different people. But you need to be able to figure out how do you regulate that for you. So, for example, when it comes to hearing, do you have a pump up playlist? Like maybe you're not in the right place, like maybe you don't want to go do something. But if you get that pump up playlist, like, oh my God, yes, I'm ready, I can do this, I can do this. But then what happens when you leave that event and you're like on this super high, you also need to come back down. So can you have a playlist that either brings you back down, that maybe is more of a Zen playlist, or maybe it's a meditation that you listen to, but something that's going to bring you back. But often hearing is a number one thing that can be really helpful for people. When it comes to touch, having something in your hand that you have, I always have this little crystal that I have on my desk, which is nice and smooth. So it's nice to just have that when I'm to hold on to. Somebody might like to, if they're home, could be petting a pet, like a dog or a cat. Maybe it's something prickly that like sparks you. That's like, oh, I'm coming back to present. Now I know like I need to be, more relaxed, or I need to just be in a present moment to know like where am I, what state am I in, as another example. A big one too can be smell. So if we think about it from a smell standpoint, what are you wearing as a perfume or cologne, and never wearing anything too heavy, but where are you putting that? So if you put it on your wrist, a lot of people, not everybody, talk with their hands in front of their face, and then you start to get like a little bit of a whiff of that. So some people that works. Um, as well. And the next one is taste. So do you have a mint or Listerine strip? Never gum, because you don't want to be chomping in front of somebody. But these are all good
Yeah, it's
reminders
very cool.
of how do I get myself in the right state, take myself out of it, or bring myself back into it. And is that, I think I hit on all of
Yeah, five
that.
senses. Yeah, very cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. It's very cool. Last but not least, I'll finish with the rest of what you answered, and then I'd love to give some advice in terms of what you see for people 2026. But you said in leadership and business, people who thrive long term aren't the loudest or the most credentialed. They're the ones who build relationships before they need them. Follow up when there's nothing to gain, and treat connection as a habit, not a transaction. One of the most counterintuitive lessons from my work is this: consistency beats charisma. Asking thoughtful questions beats self-promotion, and generosity, when it's strategic and genuine, compounds faster than any KPI. I feel like that's almost like your advice. And that's how
Yeah.
formless is that I just read that out at the end, not even thinking that would like there you go. Mm.
It's true though. People don't realize it, and I didn't when I was in it as well. But human capital and human intelligence even is never going away. We talk a lot about AI, and AI is super helpful in a lot of ways. But when we talk about the loneliness epidemic, or we talk about building relationships, we're always going to need human interaction, and
Mm,
humans build on humans.
mm,
I mean, let's just go all the way back to caveman times. Like people lived in tribes. Like there was a
yeah,
reason why that has always been the case, and why we've always had human interaction, but we're not good at it anymore. So we need to relearn. We need to get better
yeah,
at those interactions. And it doesn't mean you need to be out and about doing something every day. Like I generally do events maybe twice a week. My energy is going to get depleted if I'm out every single day. Like I don't have that capacity to do that. But 2 or 3 times a week, sure, no problem. And that's whether it's one-on-one interaction, I'm in a group. I can only do so much in a week because it just drains me. So it's
yeah,
also about finding for yourself what works for you. Because for one person, it may be, I need to be out 5 days a week, and that's like amazing. For someone else, it's like, no, every other week I'm good. Fine. Like if that's what works for you, that's what works for you. But finding out what makes sense for you, whether it be virtual, in person, small groups, one-on-ones, going to a large conference, what is that secret sauce for you as an individual? Because once you know what that is, then it becomes a habit a lot easier than trying to force yourself to do something that just doesn't fit.
yeah. It's super cool. And you said your 2026 goal is to be more visible. What would be one final tip you would give I guess give the audience if they're thinking that they want to be networking more or connecting more this year, what would be one tip to get them started this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing is just put yourself out there. Like, how many events are you going to? Like, look at your calendar. What does it look like for events that you're going to, whether it be personal, professional, in that month? Is it one? Is it two? Is it three? And then give yourself a goal. I'm going to try to do, maybe it's three. I'm going to try double that. I'm going to try to do six. What is something that you can do to get out of your comfort zone and just see how you can start to figure out where are the best places for you to show up? Maybe you find a new community that you love and you want to keep going back
Yeah.
there time and time again. But if we don't try new things, we're just going to get stuck in our past. And the whole goal is, how do we build our network for our future selves? And the only way to do that is by putting ourselves out there and meeting people that we've not met before. Like you and I probably wouldn't have
Yeah.
met if you
No,
didn't reach out to
I'm
me.
like,
You
yeah,
just
this is
never
cool.
know.
Yeah. I want to come to one of your executive dinners in NYC. Anyway.
Happy to have you next time you're in the city.
Uh, Rachel, how do we find out more about Connection Catalyst? And yeah, how do we find out more?
Yeah, so my website, as well as I'm on LinkedIn is the best place to find me. And I do a free webinar once a month and love to have people join. Anyone is welcome to attend that as well.
Cool. Wait, have you got a webinar this month?
Yeah, it's next Wednesday is the next one, the 14th.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, that'd be awesome if you could please, then I can share it in the in the show notes. Rachel,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
have loved this conversation. Network for your future self. I'm all about that. I think, yeah, I can't encourage people more than enough to be doing that because we're always evolving, right? We're always evolving in life, leadership, and business. So staying in your past, it's not about that. It's all about the momentum and how you network your future self and continuing to do that. So you've got me inspired. I haven't got any networking events or anything booked in just yet, but I'm going to attend your webinar myself next week, and that'll be my first one for the year. And no,
Amazing.
Rachel, it's been a real joy talking to you, and thank you so much. I love what you're doing and being more visible and getting it out there. And I wish you utmost success for 2026. So thank you.
Thanks so much, B. Appreciate you having me.
No, thank you. Take care.